Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome once again to Iggy's Toy Parade and Soldier Review. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, your host, Iggy. Yay. Thank you for that enthusiastic welcome. All right, you guys, here we go again. I was going to share some more Civil War pictures with you today because you seem to like the other ones that I presented to you the other day. I went looking for them. I couldn't find them, so they must be in storage along with virtually everything else, I guess. Um, I'm disappointed because it had uh, images of Cowboy Carl and uh, Dom. Dom was I think, a brigade commander, a colonel. He's a really cool guy. I believe he's a history professor. Very cool guy, very relaxed, calm, self assured. He was an excellent officer. I think he is commander of the Army of the Pacific, or I know he has been in the past. Um, I don't know if he's doing it anymore because I've been out of touch with virtually everyone for about 16 years now. But at any rate, I couldn't find any of the photographs. So, what I thought I would do is share a figure that represents a infantryman from the 100th Pennsylvania. Now, the 100th Pennsylvania was mustered in Pittsburgh in July of 1861. It was mustered out of service um, in July of 1865. It was mustered in August of 1861 and mustered out in July of 1865 in Washington. The It was part of the Ninth Corps. It participated in a lot of battles in different theaters of the West and the East. It was participated in the siege of Jackson, Mississippi, and Vicksburg. It was also at Antietam. In fact, the 100th Pennsylvania advanced further into Sharpsburg than any of the other Union outfits. And I'm trying to remember all the stuff off the top of my head. Look, Ma, no script. So please forgive me if my memory is faulty. Uh, I guess that's a hazard of getting older. By the way, my birthday is next month. I turned 67. So I'm, as one guy at work said of me while I was pushing carts at Walmart, he said, "That guy shouldn't be out there. He's no spring chicken." Anyway, see how easy Iggy gets distracted. This figure is a 1/6 scale figure. It was produced by Sideshow Toys. So, who are Sideshow Toys? Well, they're a company that was formed in 1994, and initially their business consisted of producing prototypes for other toy companies. And in 1999, they began releasing their own figures, and they came out with this Civil War figure. They also came out with Confederates. I think they may have produced an artillery piece. They made some very ambitious things for their lineup. And this particular one is of the 100th Pennsylvania. That's why I was talking about them. And you can see here that he's very finely sculpted, as an excellent face, as you can see there. By the way, there's two flies buzzing around me. They came in the door with me when I got home from work, and they decided to hang out with me in the kitchen. So it's not that my videos are shit. Well, they are kind of shit. Anyway, never mind. But that's why you might see something going. And if you hear a little voice going, help me, that's the fly stuck in a spider web. That scene, by the way, really freaked me out when the spider started coming down on uh, who's the actor that played the scientist? It's not Vincent Price. He was like a friend of the family. I think it was David Hedison. Is that his name? He was in that TV show Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which started out as an excellent show and then got really goofy. Irwin Allen has started going crazy with his shows and introducing carrots that talk and all sorts of weird stuff. But anyway, so if you hear a little voice going, help me, that's the fly. What was I saying? You know how I get off track so easily. Well, let's talk about this guy. My camera doesn't seem to be focusing very well. Can you see him? It's an excellent head sculpt. I really like him. Now his cap, his forage cap used to fit much better prior to being kept in storage, and the changes in heat and pressure from other boxes has changed the shape of it, and it's a little bit shrunken. You still can fit him on his head, but it doesn't fit as well as it should. Behind him there is his overcoat. The overcoat had a high collar. It had large cuffs on the sleeves and had a cape. And those were features of men's clothing that were fashionable in the 1850s, early 1860s. They might have even made raincoats like that in the 1870s, perhaps even further than that. Let's see, what else can we say here? He's wearing a ammunition box or for his rounds. Each soldier carried 40 rounds in his ammunition box. I don't know if you can you see it? That's the sling for it. Has a brass plate on the front of it with the American eagle. This is not focusing. Wonder what's going on with this. I wish I could get a tighter view, but every time I move it forward, it gets really blurry. He's holding a oilcloth knapsack. On the top of it is a rolled up ground cloth, which was made of vulcanized rubber, a piece of fabric that was coated in vulcanized rubber. And it had a double duty. It served as a ground cloth and also as a poncho. They would have a slit with a little cover over it in the middle of the ground cloth, and you could slip it over your head and wear it as a poncho when it rained. In their knapsack, they would carry their greatcoat, and they would also carry a shelter half, perhaps a blanket, or they would roll their blanket in the ground cloth and have it on top, and personal items. A lot of people called their haversack. They'd say, "Well, we need some haversacks." Excuse me, stumble mouth here. You can tell my blood sugar's starting to drop, can't you? The haversack, they would say, well, we need some haversack stuffers, like a housewife, which was a sewing kit, and a mirror for shaving that had a little cover that would slide over it to protect the mirror, a straight-edged razor, a shaving brush, playing cards, a Bible, perhaps a journal. Well, you wouldn't want to put those in your haversack because you put your rations in there. And the salt pork and other things would be very greasy, and you just wouldn't want to do that. So they would carry those items in their knapsack. Now, they would typically not go out uh, into battle with their knapsack. What they would do is they would leave them behind the line, and they would post a couple guards on them to guard it, because while they were out in the field, strays, stragglers would come and steal all their stuff out of their knapsacks. Sometimes the guards themselves would do that. Uh, Units that were fortunate to have wagon transportation would put their knapsacks in there to carry for them. They were quite heavy and they were very uncomfortable. And if you had a blanket and a gum blanket on the top, the knapsack would pull back or lean back, and the straps would cut into your shoulders. So they weren't very comfortable. You can see his canteen strap. Can you see anything at all? It looks to me like it's blurry. I don't know why that would be the case. Maybe that's my eyes. He's wearing a canteen, and the canteen was made of tin, so it would rust rather easily. They would hot wax the interior of the canteen to try and prevent rusting. If you didn't do that, your canteen would pour out chunks of metal and dark brown water, because they rusted very badly. So with the cloth cover, they would try and keep the water a little bit cooler from direct sunlight. And then the waxing of the interior of the canteen helped prevent rust. And we already talked about the haversack. Now, the men would shorten the canteen strap and haversack depending on their height, because the ideal place to put them would be right about here when they're hanging down, right about there. When they were longer, they would like hit your knee or something. But it would depend on your height how much you would take out of the length of the straps. He's holding a 1861 Springfield musket. Now, the Confederates were they would pick up rifles off the field of battle, especially if they won. And they also imported Enfield muskets and Austrian muskets and pretty much anything they could get a hold of. I think the Union Army had some Enfield muskets as well, and they came from Great Britain. Now, the trousers are called jersey blue, and a lot of the men would cuff them because when they were distributed to the troops, they pretty much just had a couple sizes available, and so a lot of men would have to roll up the bottom cuff of the trousers to prevent them from dragging and picking up stickers or getting muddy. Their shoes are what are called brogans, and they were leather with leather soles. And the men would, if they could, would put hobnails in them, and also what they called a horseshoe, which was a metal plate that they would attach to the heel to help prevent it from wearing down. They would wear wool socks. And the brogans were also called gunboats. The Confederates wore shoes that were called straight lasts, and they were neither left nor right. And when you broke them in, that's how you would know if because your feet, when they are on the ground, they lean in different directions, and they would sculpt the shoes to their particular style of walking simply by wearing them, but they weren't issued a left and right shoe. So there, did I talk about the cap box? The reason I'm asking you is this is the fourth video. I ran out of storage and I dropped the phone once, and I actually turned off the camera with my thumb. That is blurry. That's not my vision. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna turn him around so you can see what he looks like in the back. He's got a bugle on the top. A lot of men were issued caps with that, and many men in the field would remove that so that it wouldn't reflect the sun. Okay, here's his ammunition box, which had 2 tins in it, and they held 40 rounds. There's the canteen with the cloth cover. Oh, look, it's got a split in it. Shoot. That's just going to keep splitting until it comes off. It had a cork at the top with a chain. It was a metal piece that had a cork in it, and then you'd insert it in the top of the canteen. There's his haversack here. They also carried a bayonet, a socket bayonet that would fit on the top of the rifle, and you would push it down and lock it. There's a little finial on the bottom there. And guys, that's our, and by the way, you see a lot of reenactors with really long hair. That was not common. You wouldn't want long hair in the field anyway, because you would end up with a lot of head lice and other critters getting in there. And hair that's greasy and dirty is very uncomfortable. So they would keep their hair short. There was guys like Custer, who was a bit of a showman with the long hair, but most men kept their hair short. Okay, guys, I'm sorry I couldn't bring you more photographs because I had images of other people that I have spoken of in these videos, such as Dom and Cowboy Carl. There's one image that we did in Huntington Beach where a dog came. We were all sitting for a photograph. Not a photograph. It's not a photograph. It's a tintype. And what they do is they put chemicals on a piece of tin. They put it in the camera. They lift up they take off the lens cover. They expose it for, like, depending on the light, for about 30 seconds or a minute, depending on how much light they have. And it would, when they dip that plate into chemicals, the image would come out. So it wasn't photography. Well, I guess it was in a way, but it was originally it was called a dagger, not a dagger. I can't speak French. Dagger type? Tintype. We'll go with tintype. How's that? Okay, guys. Did I talk about their service record? They were at Antietam. They had about 409 casualties during the war. Half of them were wounds and deaths, and the other half were from sickness. A lot of men during the Civil War died from sickness. Okay, guys, that's it for my Sideshow Toys Civil War figure representing the 100th Pennsylvania. Sideshow Toys eventually became Sideshow Collectibles, and they dropped their production of these figures some time ago. I think I bought this one in 2006, but I can't say positively without looking at my journal, which is around here. You want to know exactly? I keep a journal of all the things that I get. Gosh, I hope this is in focus. I can't see it. Guys, I can't see it, so I'm not able to tell you. All right, that's it for Iggy. Thank you for getting Iggy for it. Thank you for enlisting in the Iggy Army, those of you who have. And I'm going to hit the Dusty Trail. We'll meet up at Roy Rogers Ranch for a barbecue. Maybe we could sit out under a sage tree, a shade tree, and take out our figures. We could bring some details, some Airfix, some Toy Soldiers San Diego, which is now McShawn's, Barzo, which is now LOD, and have a good time setting them up in the dirt. Okay, guys, you know what time it is. This time I want you to sing along. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Ignatz can't sing worth shit. Bye, everyone.